everybody, and welcome to A Balanced Life with Dr. Jacquie here at Black Star Network. And today, just like any other day, we're going to be talking about all things balanced living. Now, of course, there are a couple of things that we can do on our own, things that we can do solo. Many of you are out there in that space thinking about whether or not you want to leave your job. Do you want to do it by yourself? Do you want to start a business with your spouse, with your mate, your significant other? Well, let me tell you, we have curated a panel today along with our contributors that are going to talk to us about the ins, the outs, the ups, and the downs of working with your spouse. But then also, what does it look like for you to have you together? I say it each and every week. You have to take care of you first and be responsible for yourself before you bring anyone else into your space. Today, we are joined by Pastor J.T. Johnson of the Word Church out of Houston, Texas. We're going to have some special time with two of our guests, the doctors, Bishop Jennifer and Aaron, that are out of Columbia, South Carolina. We're also joined today by Dr. Tierney, our Level Up coach, and of course, Stacey Owens, who is the owner, founder, creator of Creating Z School of the Art and Technology. No matter where you find yourself in the space in which you live, we've got something to you. I'm going to welcome everybody in. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Ooh, I am so glad that we are here today to talk about all things balanced living, but also some of the things that relate to what makes you who you are. Now, I think that each of us can say that we have been in that space where we tried to figure out not only what makes us tick, or be ticking time bombs, and also what makes the people around us tick and how to keep them from ticking time bombs. So I want to start with Stacey for a moment. If she can give us a few tips about what makes Stacey Stacey and how do you stay away from those landmines when you're working with other people. Hey, Stacey.
Hey.
I'm starting with you first.
Wow, what makes me Stacey, or what makes Stacey Stacey? Just being myself and being true to myself is what makes me who I am. I found in this entrepreneur world that once I stepped out and started opening a couple of schools, I was in a space where I didn't have a lot of people around me who understood the same space. Like, it wasn't a lot of people in my family who were entrepreneurs or my friends. They were principal of schools, but they never founded a school. So I found that I was in a territory that no one could really mentor me through. So I had to really do some self-searching within to find out who and what I believed in, what principles I wanted to stand on. Standing on truth is one of the main principles that I wanted to stand on, and making sure that I served the population of disenfranchised. That was something I wanted to stand on, because once I made those decisions and decided, who I was I found that it was very important, because as people started surrounding themselves with me, they would try to take you in their direction, or they would tell me how, all the things that I shouldn't do. And if I wouldn't have already decided on who I was, what I stood for, then I would have been in a mess trying to navigate through all the things that people wanted me to be. And so I think Stacey is just me, someone who wants to bring light and love into others.
So tell me this, Stacey, what keeps you from becoming a ticking time bomb?
I am a ticking time bomb.
Oh, hey.
I can be a ticking time bomb, but I think awareness keeps me there, because I also, I found it interesting that God did a lot with me as I started this process in terms of my character. So I used to explode really quickly if I felt like you were attacking me, or I stayed in a posture of defeat, or not defeat, but defense. And so I had to learn that I didn't have to fight everything. I didn't have to, argue about everything. I just needed to know what it was that I wanted to do, so that when folks started coming at me, I knew what to stand on, but I also knew when I needed to listen and be open and learn from the wonderful people that he placed in my life to teach those hard character lessons. So I had to find a balance in between the two, so that I wouldn't kill my own dreams, by getting in my own way. So I think, I keep my bomb very protected and sheltered now, because, to be true, you can learn how to be different. You can flush a lot of things, but it can be some of those things that's still in you. But if you are aware that it's there, now you can control it. So now it's all about being aware of who you are so that you can control those things that need to be controlled.
That makes perfectly good sense, because oftentimes people aren't aware of who they are, nor are they aware of how they present themselves in the space in which they occupy. So I want to come to Dr. Tierney next, because I think that in the work that she does with being able to level up, we sometimes don't know. Oh man, this is a little touchy. So I know we're gonna get a few text messages, a few calls, a few at yous and whatnot. But oftentimes we don't know how we present ourselves when we're in the company of others. Dr. Tierney, talk to us a little bit about that. Who is Dr. Tierney and what makes her tick? But then also, how do we help, or you help other people identify what makes them tick or be their best self?
Absolutely. So Dr. Tierney is somebody that is always on a plane of self-discovery. I don't get to this place where, oh, just because I'm of a certain age, then that's just how I am. I discover something new about myself almost every day. Little things pop out and I'm like, oh, girl, I didn't know that was in there. I often say that people often get their due in front of their who. We're so focused on what we want to do and what all we want to accomplish in this life that we're not really looking at ourselves. When we were kids, we're asked the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? But that's really a do question. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a majorette. I want to be a doctor. It's what do you want to do? And we weren't really guided to look at who we are. What are the gifts, the talents, the skills, the quirks, all of the things that are within us. Something else that we often do is that we will label ourselves as good or bad. If it doesn't fit into a certain arena, then we'll say that whatever that characteristic is, it's bad or it's good. When really who you are, it's neither good or bad. It's what you do with it. I tell people all the time, well, Dr. Tierney can be real selfish. Selfish, absolutely. But that selfishness is the thing that helps me to really hone in on that self-care. Like I can self-care like nobody can self-care, but it's where I have to be, like Stacey said, I have to be aware of that I have a tendency to be selfish. So I have to make sure that I'm not doing the wrong thing with that selfishness isn't going in the wrong direction to where now it's turning into greed and all of that. This is where boundaries come in. When I know and I'm self-aware of who I am and what my tendencies are, not that I'm labeling it as good or bad. I just know who I am, if perverted and used in the wrong way, it can then turn into something bad. So I exercise those boundaries. I tell myself, you know what, we're not going to engage in these type of conversations. We're not going to put ourselves in these type of situations so that I can make sure that I'm staying the course and staying right where I want to be. Now, when we're talking about me guiding my clients into this work, a lot of times we can tell who we are just by listening to the things that we're hearing on repeat from those people around us that we trust. Okay. If 5 people tell you that you can be real slick with your mouth, then you might want to listen to what them 5 people are saying. Everybody is not wrong in what they're saying. You are the common denominator in these 5 different relationships or these 5 different interactions or whatever it is, So you have to take into account some of the things that the people around you are saying to you can help you to point and pinpoint what it is when we're talking about who you are and those characteristics. And again, not that it's good, not that it's bad, not that we're putting any labels on it. We have to first understand it and then decide how are we to use this thing, because we can use that for good or we can use it for bad.
I think that's well stated, because in the world in which we live in, oftentimes people judge us at first sight and they don't take an opportunity to get to know who we are. So we don't have this ability to really balance. We're sort of teetering between what people believe we should be or can be and then who we were created to be. I want to invite Pastor JT in to talk about that for just a moment, because sometimes we don't look like what we were created to be. Pastor JT, how do we balance the world's perception of us and what God has intended for us?
Wow, that's a good question. I think the answer is who are you seeking approval from? Because if you are seeking approval from the world, you're going to lean towards how the world wants you to be perceived. If you're okay with being the master's child and operating in the power that he has given you and tapping into that God-like characteristic that was given to us on the day that he created us. He created us in his image and his likeness. Then that's what you're going to veer to. And so then I would just have to ask, if the original intent was for you to be created in the image and likeness of God, why would you ask for the opinion of the world, who actually the next scripture said that you were given authority over? So you have to literally ask yourself and come to terms with, do I want to be who God wants me to be, or am I seeking approval from people who may not even want to be themselves?
So I have a follow-up question to that. How do you detach yourself from what the world has, I won't say caused you to become, because we all know that we environmentally are, shaped by where we live, who we're around, et cetera, et cetera. How do you begin to detach yourself from that so that you can find your center again?
I think you detach yourself from that, Dr. Jacquie, by identifying that nothing was done to you, but it was done for you. And really looking at whatever happened, good or bad, and see it and receive the lesson, apply it, and move forward. Because you use the word detach. So the opposite of detach is attached. So I have to ask myself, is this thing that either I am attached to or I am allowing to be attached to me, is it getting me closer to where I'm trying to get to? Is it getting me closer to fulfilling my God-given destiny, or is it holding me back? And when I get that answer, now the responsibility is on me. It's not on anybody else. The responsibility on me is now to make the decision. Am I comfortable with dying in this space, only living to be half of what I was created to be, or releasing this and becoming all that God thought about when he said, let him or let her be?
I love that. And that is so well said. When we come back after the break, we're going to have some one-on-one time with Doctors Jennifer and Aaron Bishop. This concept or thought of get up and go be great literally does stem from knowing who you are first so that you can get up and go. When we're back after the break, we'll have a one-on-one with the Bishops.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Welcome back, everyone. As you can tell, there are going to be times in your life where you are torn between who you're supposed to be and what the world is telling you to be. And oftentimes when we think of relationships and dating, getting married, or, having a significant other in our lives, it can be a chore and a task to have that right person come into your space. Then add that on to working with the person who you've chosen to be in your space. Hey, Bishops.
Hello, how are you?
I am good. I am so excited that you are here to talk to us. Number one, tell our audience who you are and what you do. And then let's get into this get up and go be great, because I know there's some days I don't want to do either.
Listen, Dr. Jacquie, you are so on. And so I'm Dr. Jennifer Bishop, and this is my husband.
And college sweetheart.
Yes.
Dr. Aaron Bishop.
Absolutely. And so we attended Savannah State University. We both were athletes, and we were scholar athletes, and we went on athletic scholarships, and we found each other in this space of where you discover who you are, in the beautifulness of an HBCU, and a beautifulness of still being on your own, but still being parented a little bit. And so that's our start. And so it's been it's going on 28 years that we have been on this journey together, and it's been beautiful. Now, has there been ups and downs? Absolutely. But we found our niche in one another. And what's unique about being college sweethearts is that we knew each other as we were learning each other, right? As we were learning how we were supposed to survive and navigate as individuals, we found a way to do it collectively.
Hey, listen, I'm just a full-time bodyguard. I don't know what all the other stuff she said. You see how beautiful this woman is? I got to protect this beauty at all costs, at all times.
Well, that is the first part of having a really strong relationship. That priest, protector, provider is there. And if you guys are college sweethearts and now 28 years into marriage or being together 28 years, oftentimes people don't know how to navigate the layers because you go through different stages. You start out as teens, then you're young adults, then you become middle-aged adults, and then we become mature adults. How do you help people navigate the various stages of growth in marriage?
Well, I think it deals with life cycles. Like anything that is an organization or a union must go through life cycles. And that critical word that you use called balance. Yeah. And there's something called a seesaw, and many kids of today's society probably don't know what a seesaw is. But I grew up on a seesaw where you had an up and a down, right? And then every now and then you had that balance. And the reason why I was balanced is not because of the up and down, but of the fulcrum point, which is the thing that is right in the middle of it that says you are equal or you are balanced. Yeah. And that maybe people don't believe in neutrality, but the ebb and flow of life is about leading with value. And her strengths are my weaknesses and my strengths are her weaknesses. And we just have that equally yoked opportunity to be business partners, to be best friends. And most of all, I think we're co-laborers in the yard to give spiritual advice and life skills. Yeah,
we found a way of making sure that, in the course of our life, as we were growing up, as we were growing into each other and we were growing individually, that there were going to be things that happened along the way that happened to us, and it may have happened because of each other, but we learned the art of forgiveness, not only of forgiving one another, but forgiving ourselves. And we also learned how to love ourselves so that we can love each other. I could not teach him how to love me if I didn't understand the concept and process of loving who Jennifer was at that stage. And so when he said life cycles is important because who Jennifer was the day she got married is not the same woman that Jennifer is sitting before you today. And the same with my husband. And so we give each other the grace and mercy to be able to grow and respect the growth. And he does something that's phenomenal, and we're going to do it tonight too, is we date each other. Yes. Get to know who I am today, because as one of the panelists said earlier, self-care is so important. So as we evolve into who we are, we have to also take into account what we went through that day. What happened this week? Because what happened to us this week may have changed the course of who we're going to be tomorrow. And we've learned how to make sure that we give each other grace and mercy to grow into who God is going to call us to be, and to forgive each other if, there were wrongs that were done to each other that need that piece so we can go forward together.
There's a lot of togetherness that you all are talking about. And I bring that up because oftentimes people who are married have a difficult time accepting the growth of a spouse. One spouse stops growing and another one continues to grow. And so how do you all balance your different seasons of growth without feeling some type of way that maybe God left me behind, or it's not my time, and why didn't you wait for me? Because we hear, all of us in this space are coaches, and so we hear so much discord. Mm-hmm. How do you keep the unity in the relationship? And then we're going to talk about how you carry that over into business together.
I think it goes back to being an emotional, intelligent couple, being self-aware and confident about who we are. Because what society, and I think Pastor JT has said, what people say can shape you. It can change how you feel about your spouse. Oh, she making all the money? Yeah, we making all the money because teamwork makes the dream work. This is my partner. This is my best friend. And what I have, she has. And what I have, she has. And one of the things I will always tell people is we figured out which one we are. Are we waffles or are we spaghetti?
Yeah.
And so waffles is compartmentalized, which means things are separated, right? And then you have spaghetti, which means everything goes together. There's not many people who eat the noodles by themselves with the meatball over here and the marinara somewhere else or the sauce. Mm-hmm. Me and my wife, as a couple, have a spaghetti theology about marriage, right? Yeah. Because there's nothing that we can compartmentalize outside of, just knowing each other's thoughts. We do understand that we have independent thoughts, but we come together like Voltron.
Oh my God.
But we have the unique perspective of starting our lives together so early. And so we've been together and we've had absolutely nothing except one another. And we've been in places where we've had overflow. And during the course of that, we made a vow to one another that it did not matter for us. Now you have to find out what works for you in your relationship and the dynamics of the personalities in their relationship. But we realized that it did not matter who made the money. We both agreed that money must come in. And when it came in, we did not identify by, okay, Jennifer makes this and Aaron makes this. No, this money comes in because we have a common goal and we have a collective goal. Although we are athletes, although we understand competition and we respect it, he's not my competitor. He's on my team. And when you recognize who your adversary is, you understand and respect your ally. And that was important for us because I've known him now longer than I've had time by myself. And so when somebody comes into your life and you know that they're sent and they're a part of it, you find a deliberate way to make sure that connection remains. But it took a decision. You can't idly sit by and expect it to happen. You have to participate in the process of saying that this is my ally, not my adversary. I will protect him the same way I protect me, and you move forward. You don't idly sit by and let it happen. You participate in the process of God making it happen. And that's what we believe.
So I want to invite Pastor JT into this conversation. He's married, beautiful family, pastors a church. Pastor, when you think about couples who are listening to what the bishops are saying, already the side eyes are going like, oh, they're such a happy couple. They never went through anything. And oftentimes people don't understand what they talked about when it said adversary and ally, and one or the other of them can become the antagonist because of their lack of understanding. How do we guide people back to the center of that relationship in order to see each other as allies and not antagonists or an adversary?
I'm using that waffle and spaghetti comparison. I know, dope. But I think that's it. If I can just make it simple and just piggyback off of what they said, so many couples operate with the waffle mentality. This is mine, that's yours. And then we just kind of go out together. We take pictures for the internet and we make people think that it's something else. But then when we come into our house, we're separate. There has to be a union. And I always talk about this. We spend so much time getting prepared for the wedding that nobody takes any time to discuss what in the world this marriage is going to look like. That's a merger. And so whenever you think about that, it's almost like Sprint Nextel. You remember when they came together and they tried to figure out how they could keep their own identity. And we kept saying Sprint Nextel until it was at one point, Nextel fell off and it was just Sprint. And so I believe that that's the thought. At some point, somebody is going to have to be vulnerable enough that my way may not be the best way for us. And then we come together. That happens after communication, not making an announcement, but communication where we talk and we understand what's best for us. But then after that first C comes compromise, understanding that this is the best way for us to move together as one unit. And if we operate like that, and I love how my brother, Dr. Bishop said, man, I'm just here being her bodyguard. Man, sometimes it's hard for us to understand who we are to each other. If I'm your peace and you're my protection, if I'm your tranquility and you're my place to be vulnerable, how in the world could I ever be the one that's causing the problems that I'm trying to eradicate? Whenever we get to that place to understand that we are bone of our bone, flesh of our flesh, we are one, I can't continue to hurt you because hurting you hurts me.
I love that. I'm going to pause and take a break. When we come back after the break, I want to dive into this a little bit more, because these working relationships that we have to have, married, single, employees, or otherwise, it requires us to understand not only who we are, but to be balanced ourselves mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially. All the LEs have to be engaged when we're back after the break.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life. And as you can tell, stepping out by faith on the things that are supposed to be yours in this life really does require you to be a part of it. I want to kick off the top of this hour with Dr. Tierney. The bishop said something that was very important, and it was how we see ourselves in the grand scheme of everything that we are. Dr. Tierney, talk to us about this process of being able to personally level up so that you can professionally succeed.
Absolutely. So a lot of times, especially in the advent of social media, we're so preoccupied with how other people see us that we're not thinking about how we see ourselves. So it's a lot of people walking around with these masks on, sending their representatives into these different arenas because they're more focused on making sure that whoever is in the room or whoever is looking at them on the gram or whatever eyes are on them looking at them, see them in this carefully curated, whatever it is that they're trying to put forward, instead of really taking that time to look at themselves to say, wait a minute, who am I? Better yet, who do I want to be? Going through my life, and so it's really important that we take a beat to say, wait a minute, what is it that I want to do with my life? And what does that look like for me, not for anybody else? When we make the mistake of wearing our mask everywhere and not really knowing who we are, then any relationship that we enter into, it can be business, professional, personal, whatever it is, we're going to take that mask into that relationship and then wonder why the whole thing falls down. I can't come into a relationship with someone pretending to be one way and then get upset when that person responds to the representative or the mask that I'm putting forward and my needs aren't actually being met. I'm not actually putting forward my needs. I'm not actually saying who I really am in that arena. And so I walk away saying, well, they didn't give me what I needed. I felt unfulfilled and I'm blaming the other person when really the person that's responsible is me, because I wasn't being my full authentic self in those spaces. So before we can talk about really being in those spaces in the way that the bishop outlined, we have to be that for ourselves first. I love what Dr. Jennifer said. She said, I couldn't tell him how to love me if I didn't know how to love me. It all starts with ourselves. It starts with the one here, the person here, before we can then be one with anyone else or properly work with anyone else.
I like that. Stacey, add in for us, because Dr. Tierney talked about how when we build things, they can fall down. And oftentimes it's because the foundation is faulty. How are you helping this generation of children and young adults build, but also in the ways that you work with your staff? Because oftentimes we're the linchpin. We're the person who sees everything and are always there to help guide others. What does a firm foundation look like when you're trying to discover how to build upon what you need in this life?
Well, like Dr. Tierney said, it starts with you. You got to start within. And then I always think that emotions are a part of that foundation, like learning how to be in control of your emotions, learning how to recognize, what your triggers are, what your emotion, what's sparks certain emotions within you. Because if you are walking into those spaces with a mask on, And then people start to peep that you have a mask on, and they start pulling at it and tugging at it. What are you going to do when they find out that you're not walking in your authentic self and they start challenging you? What's going to be your next response? How are you going to emotionally get through that? Are you going to fall apart? Are you going to be able to stand up and say, you know what? I really am not like this. This is who I really am. Are you going to be able to look within and start improving on your characters your character deficiencies that people are bringing to your awareness? So how do you strengthen your foundation starts with finding your weaknesses and then growing from that. I think we tend to stand on our strengths. If you ask anybody, what are you good at? They'll tell you, and they'll tell you with pride, and they'll tell you with comfort. But when you start asking folks to say, what are the areas that you need to work on? Sometimes we can struggle with that, especially if we're not in a space and place that we're prepared to emotionally talk about the things that we don't do well. And then can we find the truth in it so that we can grow from it? So I think the foundation starts with some of your emotions as well.
Absolutely. So we're talking about the four corners of the foundation that we're laying. So Dr. Tierney is saying to us, bring your authenticity. Stacey is saying to us, absolutely make certain that your emotions are intact. Pastor JT, if you're laying a firm foundation, what corner would you have, or cornerstone would you have for your corner of the foundation?
Well, I think my space being the resident theologian, I probably would say you got to have God in there somewhere. I think that is our ultimate compass. I believe that's what, in the terms of how I describe my wife, but I think that's what holds us down and lifts us up at the same time. So one of those corners, got to have God. Matter of fact, God need to be at the center. I think we'll give the bishops the other two corners, right? But I think the center has to be God, because if he's not in the center, everything else is chaos.
We're going to come back to chaos in a minute. Bishops, tell us, what are the corners of your foundation?
Well, I'm going to say that you need to understand your breaks. Understanding management. Let's say management. Dr. Tierney, I think you are classified as a level up coach, and there's only a few ways you can get to another level. One is by way of an escalator, and the other one is by way of an elevator. And we know what an escalator does. It constantly keeps going. It's perpetual. But it's the elevator that has stops. And I have to know when are my moments that I need to just stop and assess where I am. But what if I told you there's a third way, that you got to take the stairway? You got to do the hard things. And so when you're managing life, sometimes it requires you to do the hard things. So I think it's about management. Management is my corner.
Jennifer.
That's excellent. I think that it's the authenticity and accountability of self. We are accountable as individuals. We're accountable to the persons that we say that we love and that we want to share our lives with. And we are also accountable, and that includes ourselves. And so the self-care, even the balanced life, that is the linchpin of all of this. It's making sure that we are accountable to ourselves so that we can then be accountable to others. Pastor JT said something that Bishop and I talk about a lot when we talk to couples. There's a lyric by Prince that says, would you run to me if somebody hurt you, even if that someone was me? Would you run to me if somebody hurts you, even if that someone was me? And so when you do when he runs to me and he says that I did hurt you, or I did hurt him.
Or I need a break.
Or he needs a break. It's not personal, it's preservation. And because I trust him with my life in the same way, I respect the place that there needs to be balance, and there needs to be an availability for me to allow him to go and grow, and for me to do the same thing.
Well, I'm not saying I need a break. When I say I need a break, I'm saying we need a break.
That's
so I'm talking about like we need a vacation.
We want that too.
Because perpetual motion can cause perpetual problems.
That's true.
Being an escalator all the time
can cause
with no shut off, no stop.
That's a lot.
It could be a dysfunction in a marriage, a relationship, and even a job. You got to have retreats, moments where you say, "Hey, let's have a moment and take a break."
And there's also those times when you, as who you're growing into, have to have that break too. And invite all of us. And so it's just about, to me, the accountability of being the person that you said, I think Stacey said this, the person that you said that you were going to be, and letting that person grow and being okay with the growth and forging the relationship forward as that goes. So those are important for us.
You know, these corners in the center, and whether y'all recognize it or not, y'all actually spell game, G-A-A-M-E. And oftentimes we can be off our game because we are not balanced. We don't have that ability to be authentic or to be accountable. We don't have that ability to keep God in the center or manage the situation because our emotions are off. And those things can really get in the way of who we're in the process of becoming, what it is that we need to do. I want to bring the bishops back for a second. And then our fourth block, we're going to talk about business because everybody wants to be in business. Everybody wants to make their own money. But man, learning how to make your own coin requires a whole nother level of everything. So bishops, let me ask you this question. When you talk about get up and go be great, tell us one thing that is required for an individual to be able to do that. What does that look like as people are trying to discover how to get up and go be great?
One word, perseverance. You have to understand that the expectation of what you may see on social media is not the reality of what today may look like. It takes a process to get to the prosperity, to the profits. It takes a fortitude to be able to have the stick-to-itiveness of it. And it takes a resilience to know that while you may have gotten a no, they just didn't know how to spell because that only meant not now. It does not mean stop. It means to continue to persevere and to go for what you need. But you have to have the stick-to-itiveness of the fortitude to be able to go to your next, because it's not as easy as social media makes it look like. It's not as easy as people may give you an interview of and just spill some pretty words. There is a lot that goes into making sure that the lights are on, not just for you, but also for the people that you employ. So there's levels to it. And, you know, it is that stairway versus an escalator versus an elevator when you're in the trenches of building a business, sustaining a business, and also growing a business.
Absolutely. Aaron?
Well, I'll tell you this, if you plan to fail, then fail to plan. And not only that, one of the things that I believe is a big mistake for a lot of people who enter business is that they don't have a business mentor. There's some people who have taken this journey way before you have, and they can tell you where the blind spots are. They can tell you where the corners of defeat and dissolve are. And those are the people that will help you have that sustainability, as my wife has stated. But also, as business partners, we have to find those moments where we take the commercial break. My wife will tell you, man, one of the greatest ways to get me distracted from what I'm focused on, give me a commercial.
They work.
I mean, and commercials, you know, they can be very attractive because they got all the right, you know, ketchup in the right spot, the onion hanging off the burger properly, you know.
Oh, wait. So it's not just any old commercial. It's a food commercial.
I don't know about
Let me take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about these things that are relevant to the distractions that keep us from being focused in business, but also how do you balance the business of your business? Because everybody wants to be out there having a good time, but are you really putting in the work? We'll be back after the break.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage. as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life. And I know Aaron Bishop had y'all hungry, talking about the ketchup and the onions falling in the right place and the bun was all soft. You know, when they take it off, the steam rise up from the beef and all that good stuff. Bringing the bishops back along with Dr. Tierney, because I want to talk about this aspect of how do you balance the business of your business? Are people out here really working, or are they just playing games?
I can speak for myself. I work harder now for myself than I ever did for the man. Having a business is no joke, you know, and I've said this before. A lot of times people are just walking around saying they want their own business because they're being rebellious. You know, they don't want to submit and serve someone else's business and expect God to bless them with their own business. You know, I learned so much at the feet of my friend's business that I was serving in his baking business before I got my own business. I was showing that good stewardship when I was working in higher education and working for the universities that I was working for. There's certain things that I learned along the way when I wasn't even thinking about having a business. I always say I'm the reluctant entrepreneur. I did not set out to have my own business, but I was learning along the way things that I didn't know that I needed, you know. And then once it came apparent, like, oh yeah, girl, you finna have your own business, the first thing I did was get a business coach. So I tell you all the time, I have a life coach, a business coach, and a therapist. She got a team around her, you know, because this entrepreneurship journey, it will pull some emotions out of you that you didn't even know was there, you know. So if you're just looking at having a business just because you want to do what you want to do, sugar, that we need to go back to the drawing board and really look at your why, really examine your why before you jump out here in these entrepreneurship waters, because it will eat you up and you will sink really quick if you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Absolutely. The doctor's bishop.
Listen, Dr. Tierney, you hit on something. One thing that I will say to folks when we're talking about entrepreneurship is that the first question you have to ask yourself, is this a hobby or is this going to be a lifestyle that can sustain you? Because there's a difference in the waters that you're going to have to swim in. Either you're going to be in a puddle with a hobby or you're going straight into the Atlantic Ocean. You're going to learn how to navigate those waters, because it's going to take a different type of vessel to maneuver you through it. You can walk through a puddle, but you need a ocean liner to help you in that Atlantic. And so from the coaches to the mentors, one for us, for me, and also a sponsor, because there are going to be people in your life, in your sphere, that can go in rooms that you can't get in yet. And then those are sponsors, and they're going to be mentors who walk with you and talk with you and help you at the table. And so I learned that I needed both of them. I needed the sponsor who can go in places that I may not be able to get into yet, to have my name go in places that they may not have heard of me before. And then mentor at the same time to say, Jennifer, when you get there, this is what it looks like. This is how you operate. And also recognizing that, you know, that old adage that says, if you're the smartest in the room, you're in the wrong room. I survey my room every day, because I know if I am the smartest one in there, that I have outgrown. I'm not only stunting myself and my household, I'm stunting the people around me, because we all have to grow. And if I'm not growing, then that means I'm wilting. And that's when we have to make sure that, you know, that to me kicks off the understanding of, is this a hobby where, you know what, it doesn't matter, I'll do it, you know, another day, or no, this is life or death, and I need to make sure I make some moves right now.
Absolutely. Aaron?
Yeah, so I'm not going to do any analogies about food anymore, because I know I've made too many people hungry. But, you know, this thing called entrepreneurship, or being a businesswoman or a businessman, is not for the faint at heart. If you mess around and jump out here and think you can do this thing like everybody else, you're going to need a defibrillator. You're going to need somebody to resuscitate you real fast because like my wife's book is called No Opportunity Wasted. There are times we can't waste opportunities because the lifetime of the opportunity only lasts the opportunity of a lifetime. Or the opportunity of a lifetime only lasts the lifetime of opportunity. Sorry about that. But here's what I'll tell you. The now speaks to what Bishop Paul S. Morton said, is no opportunity wasted, right? When we look at entrepreneurship, this thing is a constant work. There's no clock in, no clock out. You got early mornings, late nights, but you got to find time to invest in yourself. That's where the growth happens. Learning from your lessons and investing in yourself so you have a lifetime of opportunities.
I want to invite everybody in on this one because I'm going to ask each of you this question and then we're going to give our audience a challenge because it appears that doing business is not just about the product that you have or the service that you give. A lot of it is about the individual and what it is that they have to bring to the table that makes the business sing, hum, run, all the things that make it great. So I'm going to ask Stacey this question. We're going to do the round robin. If we're challenging our audience and we want them to bring along something when it comes to balancing the business of their business, what is it that they need to bring along?
I think you should bring along your passion because if you're really excited and you really are loving what you are doing, then when you find yourself in those moments that are, your downs, you'll have something to lean back on and help you stand back up to keep going because you're going to fail a lot. I mean, you're going to do a lot of stuff right, but you're going to do a lot of stuff wrong. And if you ever find yourself where you have lost your passion, it's going to get you stuck in those negative thought patterns. So take it with you.
Absolutely. Pastor JT.
So I'd say discipline. Because if you are an entrepreneur, you the boss. And that's not just enough for you to post on social media, hashtag I'm the boss, hashtag can't nobody tell me nothing, hashtag whoop, hashtag period with a T at the end. You are the boss. And so discipline is what makes you get up when you don't feel like it. Discipline is to what Dr. Aaron Bishop said, man, there is no 9 to 5, that there is no, I'm working Monday through Friday and weekends off. Man, I don't know the last time I was able to be off. But that I know, like the good book said, if I don't work, I don't eat. But even to another point, if I don't work, my house is not taken care of. To another point, if I don't work, my employees aren't paid. So then now I have to take it a step further. Discipline goes further than me listening to a hot clip on YouTube or feeling good for the first 15 minutes of my day. Discipline lets me get punched in the jaw. I wipe off the blood, figure out how can I miss that punch the next time, and I keep on swinging. Because if I give up in this round, not only do I fail, everybody else that's counting on me does too.
That makes so much sense. Dr. Tierney.
So I'm going to stick with that authenticity. It doesn't matter what business you're in. I don't care if you're selling T-shirts, coaching, popsicles, or whatever it is. We're in the business of relationship building. And so if you're not being authentically you, then you're going to show up in a way that's going to make people kind of like, I don't know if I want to do business with them. They may not know exactly what's off, but you'll find that it's harder to sell T-shirts. It's harder to get those popsicles sold because you're not being authentic. And people, consumers, clients, they can feel that. They can feel that energy when things are just off. So you always want to make sure that you remember that your number one business is in building relationships with your clients, with their consumer base. And in order to do that effectively, then you have to be authentically you.
Absolutely. Bishops.
One thing that I would say is that you have to bring your audacity. You have to bring the fact that you believe that what you have is uniquely yours and you can own it. You own the good, the bad, and the indifferent, and you grow with it. So you have to have the audacity to know that I was sent here to do this, and that leads to the passion of being able to pursue all that is going to take for you to achieve what is achievable.
I have to say faith. I don't mean to step into the warehouse of Pastor JT, but we know that faith is the size of a mustard seed and it can move mountains. If you want to have a mountain moving experience of getting your business off the ground and getting it to be sustainable, you're going to have faith. Because there are times when you will not know what the end's going to be, but you better run on and see what it's going to be. And don't wait till the battle is over. You got to shout now. You got to go through those moments where you can exhale and inhale the beauty of what God can do in your life, because there are 4 things built upon faith: church, family, school, and a business. And so if you're building a business, it's going to require faith.
Professionally, people oftentimes get in their own way, and we're talking about these things that people need to bring along with them in order to be what we consider successful, and not only to live balanced, but also to have a balanced mindset when it comes to business. If we had to tell people some things to just dismiss from their thinking, because, we all bring, as Dr. Tierney says, some stinking thinking to the equation of our lives. I'm going to start with Dr. Tierney, since that's her corner phrase. What is some of the stinking thinking people need to just release as they prepare to keep moving forward in business in 2023?
Stop thinking that it's going to look like social media. It's not. It is not going to look like what you see on the gram. First and foremost, you may be comparing your year 1 with somebody's year 5. If you go back and look at what my very first website looked like, matter of fact, if you go through my Instagram and scroll all the way to the bottom, sugar, it does not look like what it does now. People are showing you their clips on the gram. People are showing you the when they got the bag. They're not talking about when they were on the struggle bus. They're not talking about when they barely had enough to pay their mortgage. They're not talking about when the lights went out. They're not talking about that. But trust me, it happened. It absolutely happened. It happened to me. Everybody that's in business have had a struggle bus moment. So please stop thinking that just because what you are doing right now doesn't look like what you see on the gram, that there's something wrong. Let that go. Stay the course and keep running your race.
Absolutely. Bishops.
I'm going to say the imposter syndrome. So many people deal with this every day, and here's how you can hear them, their tone, their statements. You'll tell somebody, man, you are doing it. And you know what they'll say? Man, I'm just trying. No, you're not trying if you're doing it. If you're doing it, keep doing it. And so I think we got to get rid of the imposter syndrome. And I don't have time to go into it, but look it up, because some of you all may have that in your life.
And he hit the nail on the head for me. I would also leave behind the inability to ask for help. You have to know that you're not supposed to do this on your own. And also, another one just came to me, is that thinking that competition is not healthy for the soul. You have to have competition because it helps you level up. You don't have to sink other people's ships so that yours can continue to sail. You need to know that somebody is doing something so that you can be inspired. Find your inspiration, and it may just be from your competitor.
Okay. Stacy. She called me with that one because I literally just saw Stacy and her competitors and all the people who are trying to start schools. So Stacy, tell us. Stop for your school, girl.
Stop thinking that you are not enough. So everything you need, you have within you. You just got to know what your gifts and your talents are, and remove all that self-doubt. So stop thinking you're good enough. Just do it.
Absolutely. Pastor JT.
I say ditto to everybody, and I'm going to add this one. Stop thinking other people's thoughts. God gave the vision to you.
Yes.
So you shouldn't be bound to trying to get approval from other people, or if other people don't see how it's going to work, don't allow those negative seeds to be planted in your garden. Only thing that you need to do is rehearse and repeat what God has said to you, and not reflect on what they are saying to you or about you.
Absolutely. I love all of these, and they give us an opportunity to really see how we can forge ourselves forward in whatever life it is that you're trying to live. I'll give my reflections when we're back after the break.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life. And as you can tell, discovering your lane and how to stay in it, or expanding to a super express highway as you get up and go be great, as you try to level up, as you're figuring out the course that is for you, it does require you to bring some things to the table, but it also requires you to release yourself from a few other things. And in releasing yourself, you may find that your best is still yet to come. So my challenge to you is for you not to give up on yourself, to keep forging forward. Allow yourself to be released from those things that are holding you down, while at the same time reaching upward for those things that are meant for you to pull down, that will give you the peace that surpasses all understanding, that will give you the balance that you need in order to manage, as Aaron Bishop said, in order to be able to stay on the seesaw or the teeter-totter moments in life. Whatever it is that is meant for you will come, as long as you take off the mask and remain your authentic self. Be well. Bye now.